my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Outlawed Thoughts. This is episode 29, and we're down to Josh this week, but we have both CD McRae and Kareem Mays. So, we have a bunch of random stuff to talk about this week. It's very sporadic. There's not much because we got like all the war stuff and the Ukraine and all that crap, and then we have like the Elon Musk Twitter stuff that just happened, as well as some funny videos that I tracked down that we're going to watch here, starting with what I decided to be the first story of the week, which is none of that. It's not Elon Musk. It's not the UN.
Is
it's
it
not.
We Own the Science?
Nah. We're going to watch a video, and it's going to be a minute long, and I want you to tell me what the fuck is happening in this video.
Okay, let it play the whole way through. Don't stop it.
No, it's only a minute. We're not stopping this one.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Okay, so that is the end of it. It just replayed.
Love Shannon's comment.
Oh god. Nukes can't come past it. Shout out to Shannon for staying up.
Okay, so that looked like the group of like monkeys from Wizard, like from Wicked, right? Like the people that would have played like, like her monkeys, That's what that looks like. Like they all came from the show, and like this girl,
they're all in green screen outfits,
and they were all
they're attacking people.
Green screen
okay.
outfits.
Here.
Had to go.
This is why you need to exercise your Second Amendment rights in America.
Oh my God!
So of course that was New York City of all places.
Now I kind of figured.
But we'll go ahead and read this. New York City subway attack. Gang of women in neon green bodysuits attack and rob 2 women.
Hey, go behind the green screen first.
Attack unfolded on the subway near Times Square station in New York City. A gang of 6 women wearing neon green bodysuits beat and robbed 2 19-year-old women in a New York City subway early Sunday in a bizarre caught-on-video attack. I'd fucking say so. The incident happened around 2 a.m. That was 2 in the morning. There were people in green bodysuits stalking the subways of New York at 2 a.m. Video posted online shows the 6 women aboard the train fighting with some passengers. At least one woman can be seen repeatedly punched, a victim in the face while another appears to wrap her leg around a second victim and drag her to the floor. The mother of the one victim told the New York Post that what happened on the train was absolutely disgusting and that the gang in green needs to be held accountable. The
Okay,
gang in green.
we're not supposed to victim shame, but like, I would like to know how this got started. Like, what did you do to this group of people to entice
Animals belong behind bars, said the mother, who wished to remain anonymous. Make an example of them. What happened to New York City we all love? Start fixing it now. Mom's based.
Mom's not based.
How do you get to these? How do you get people in green suits?
I don't get it. They're literally.
Why are people still in New York City other than like Larry Sharp and Thomas Quitter? Everybody should.
Well, I'm absolutely advocating move the fuck out of New York. Just don't come to my state. Click here to get the Fox app news. No, thank you. I don't think we need an app to describe the news of why the fuck there's a gang of green bodysuit wearing black women beating people up.
Yeah, what the heck is this, man? I'm good.
Shannon, what have you been up to in your spare time? Do you have an alibi for last night? I don't remember that game from the Warriors. Warriors, come out and play. It's just a bunch of chicks in green suits.
This wouldn't happen in Ancapistan because I could call private securities and get a militia and just.
Shit. I saw that story less than 45 minutes ago, and I was like, I have to play this on the show. There's no way.
Good. That was good. I wasn't expecting. I didn't know what to expect. But expectations were low, and you definitely exceeded them. So, again, I still don't really understand what I'm looking at, and I look forward to following this case, figuring out what. I would really like to find the discovery on this. On the.
I'm just curious. After you take a couple hits. What does this story look like? Because I'm looking at it from a sober perspective. Probably if you're higher, like what the fuck is going on?
All I saw was the episode name. I'm ready for black on black crime. Most unreal. Shout out to David Brady.
David.
If it is World War III, New York might get a little bit better. Can't get any worse.
Well, I don't know. I think worse might be if raving bands of green bodysuit wearing gangs start taking over the subways. That might be worse.
You know what? In all seriousness,
now we need blue ones. Now I just need the blue ones.
You know what?
They could be like a turf war.
Larry Sharp needs to go more hardcore and be like, look, the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia to protect the Republic and get real hardcore with that and private security. Maybe he can beat the clowns who are running there. Can I just say,
it's going to look hilarious. This is going to sound bad. It's going to look hilarious whenever something like that happens and people get shot because those green costumes are going to look goofy as shit with red spots all over.
Might look cool.
It's going to be totally a fashion faux pas. So speaking of...
like Halo when you kill an elite.
Speaking of... Speaking of based individuals and people in general, Kanye West calls Black Lives Matter a scam, declares it over after wearing a White Lives Matter shirt on Candace Owens. That is a fucking headline and a half from the Daily Wire.
If Ye declares
this,
period.
Ye hath spoken.
He has spoken. He hath spoken. Ye spoke. Done.
Yeah.
The matter is over.
New York can't get worse. Have you ever seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, I have actually.
That's a solid reference.
You know
So
what?
we'll go through the story here.
No, I disagree. The Shredder would probably be better at governance than like whatever they have now. So yeah, I think the Shredder should win.
Vote Shredder 2023.
Vote Shredder. Vote Shredder. Hail the foot.
One day after wearing a White Lives Matter shirt on the Daily Wire with host Candace Owen in Paris, Kanye West declares the Black Lives Matter movement over. West and Owen shocked social media when the duo donned the White Lives Matter shirts, each of which also included a picture of the Pope's face on the front, while flanked by models in matching tops. Everyone knows that Black Lives Matter was a scam, West said on Instagram, where he has nearly 18 million followers. Now it's over. You're welcome. And that is the post there. The BLM movement has opposed law enforcement while promoting other radical ideas like the disruption of the nuclear family. We are unapologetic. We are unapologetically black in our positioning. The groups, what we believe, Page said, and affirming that Black Lives Matter, we need not qualify our position to love and desire freedom and justice for ourselves in a prerequisite for wanting the same for others. So,
okay.
I don't know what else we actually. Last month, well, no, actually, this is just going back into the BLM fraud stuff, which we've actually.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I will say, law enforcement.
Putin Shredder 2024.
Shredder 2024.
Can we do Shredder Putin 2024? I might rather have Putin as a VP in that situation.
Yeah, good.
I think, actually, scratch that. I think Shredder's more likely to use nukes than Putin.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Shredder's bombing everybody, man. He's like, I'm going to make everybody get on that green goo.
It's imperialism time, kids.
Well, I think it. Oh, I like that comment.
David, there is a fucking alternate reality out there that is awesome.
Yeah.
There's some alternate reality where we're all just partying and getting down to Kanye West music from the early 2000s.
I don't really like Kanye West.
Dude, old school Kanye was
conversation for a different time.
Fuck that. Old school Kanye's great.
Yeah. Well, no.
Kareem's wrong. That's the end of the conversation.
Immortal Technique is better. Thanks for playing.
Mortal Technique's a commie.
That's fine.
No, I will agree with you. Immortal Technique's like actually technically a really good rapper, and I like his music and the lyrics are good. When he is talking about like pro freedom stuff, it's really great.
Yeah, I've heard
his own like personal stuff. Man, his politics is busted.
I've never actually. I've listened to some interviews. I've never heard him say like, "Oh, I'm pro Karl Marx" or anything like that.
No one man should have all that power.
Kanye West is a capitalist.
Hey, Barbie.
Period. So, like, like that's what this whole thing is capitalism to sell fucking ugly shoes.
Yeezys. I don't know who.
Yes, they're what people wear in the airport, and they're just.
That is the correct position, David. There's a lot of people who don't want to be honest and say that's the correct position, but it is the correct position.
Is they're all bad. It's all bad.
Let them burn.
Hey, Leighton,
if that country has a government, then I say let it get disabled and let it burn. That's kind of just what government does. It's going to happen anyway. Let it take its course.
Oh, hey, Leighton, if you want a country to burn, we can have Italy leave NATO.
Do you really want to get back into this debate? David's in the chat this time.
I do. I do.
I want David Brady to go listen back to the episode being you did.
Chat. We're not doing that tonight. Take that to the GC. We're not doing it. No.
All right. The next story that I actually have to cover would be we have a choice. We can go into the Elon stuff now. We can go into the UN story that you sent me, or we can go into this IRS story that I found that's pretty funny.
The IRS story. Let's go.
IRS story. Okay, this is going to make everybody angry and chuckle a little bit. I agree with David on this.
You should do both. Look here, if you're gonna be anti-globalist,
Nah, don't do it. We will. I have a plan for our discussion on this deeper. I have somebody I want to have on the show who's going to talk about it.
Bring them on.
Okay, so we got this story right here. 5 IRS employees stole COVID relief funds to buy Gucci, trips to Las Vegas, and Justice Department says.
Hell yeah.
So this is a wild one. The 5 current or former employees in Tennessee and Mississippi with the Internal Revenue Service have been charged with scamming the federal government. Oh, scamming the I love the wording Fox uses for this. I didn't read this part. Scamming the federal government. So they spent your taxpayer dollars, but they scammed the federal government. So they definitely didn't scam the American people. Don't pay attention to that. They scammed the feds because the feds are who have the money.
Well, feds are a scam. It's kind of like that meme. I don't know who the rapper is. Hey, yo, dog, I heard you like scamming, so put scams in your scam so you can enjoy scamming while you have scams.
The suspects allegedly received money through the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, an Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL. Sounds like a sexually transmitted disease. Both of those sounds like sexually transmitted disease. Man, I had to go get a shot. Man. I got a case of the PPPs.
That's the rival. That's the rival political party in China, the PPP versus CCC.
But okay, so like, did these people become IRS?
So I'll go through it here.
Are they new? Are they part of the new group?
No. That's what's funny about this. So 5 current or former employees. So they're not saying. They're just saying 5 employees. We don't know whether they're current or were fired or anything. So for all you know, all 5 of them could still be working for them. These individuals, acting out of pure greed, abused their positions by taking government funds meant for citizens and businesses who desperately needed it, said U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Tennessee, Kevin G. Ritz. That's a lawyer as fuck name. The defendants allegedly submitted false loan applications that collectively sought more than $1 million. They used the money to purchase luxury cars and for travel, including trips to Las Vegas.
Good.
Brian, they went to you know what though? They were at the Reno Reset, and that's all that really matters. Dude, this was such an old job. I think we found it.
Yeah, I mean they know the rules to the game. You know what I mean? And they know
Brian, get this.
Not press.
This is received 106. So Brian Salisbury, 46 of Memphis, Tennessee, is charged with 2 counts of wire fraud and 2 counts of money laundering. He worked for the IRS as a program evaluation and risk analysis to the Human Capital Office and submitted 4 EIDL applications. He allegedly received $171,000 and spent a portion of the money on a Mercedes-Benz and deposited additional funds in a personal investment account.
Hell yes.
So this is my running theory on all of these guys, because I've seen so many of these cases. I think their entire plan was to take this money through these, right? And when the feds needed the money back, went back to them, they just have the investment money to give back. But the fucking market crashed so hard that a lot of these guys ended up not having the money when it came time to pay up. And now they're just going to have to get canned and charged, and they know it. So they're just sitting there waiting for it.
Well, exactly. Exactly right.
Yeah.
What's the doggo's name?
My dog. Oh, that's Lincoln.
Lincoln. Okay.
Lincoln.
The tax thieves got robbed by their own debt collectors. Yeah, I mean That is precisely what has happened. Yes.
That's what happens when you have a monopoly on force.
I'm rooting for the Fed because they are fighting the
know about
WEF
that.
right now. Weird bedfellows, but the current situation sure as hell beats world communism. Also, we can beat one of two. Yeah. So I think I have talked briefly about that position of like the kind of accelerationism, right? Like you put you lean into what the Fed's doing because you know that ultimately it's going to crash the economy and lead to a momentary situation where you could gain control of something like that and kind of destroy it from
Didn't
the
you say
inside.
you were kind
Those
of
kind of
against that?
situations. But I think ultimately the acceleration style is fine to do, but myself, I think incrementalism and kind of moving things forward slower is probably going to be what actually works over time. I'm writing a thing right now about like the worldwide political shift and how everything's moving to the right, and how I think a lot of libertarians and Republicans on the liberty side aren't prepared for that because they don't like when that shift happens, you have to be able to like get a hold of some of those people, right? Like, and there's a lot of things that are going to change in the political sphere over the next few years in that space. I think we're going to end up running headfirst into the fact that everything is going to shift in the United States to the right by a very hard degree as a result of all this cultural shit that the left is doing. And the results of that are going to be real fucking messy. So I think it's very hard to predict what you can do politically to solve that. But on a national level, I agree.
Don't
Like
know if that'll
the
happen.
Fed will crash if it's put under enough stress. So put it under some stress.
Right.
Because if it crashes, I think that's a better place for libertarians to be. Yeah, it's going to be shitty for everyone. Like money's going to be worthless and all that stuff we talk about. But the fact is that in that position, I think you have a lot better chance of getting larger groups of people together to listen to you as a libertarian if you're literally proven right overnight, which is what that would do.
Well,
Yeah.
that's because the incrementalism becomes the result of incrementalism is exponential. So you end up,
The more I think about this, the more I look at it, I don't think it's going to be a crash like you're thinking. My guess is this, and I'm basing this off post-Soviet Union stuff, that eventually what's going to happen, my guess, is that prices are high now. They'll become higher, until it's something ridiculous. Like,
Right.
watermelon's $30.
Right.
Just-
And then people aren't going to be willing to pay.
Then
And that's my point.
what? Yeah, then people won't pay it. Then here's actually best case scenario. People won't be able to pay it. So there's a couple things you could do. Retailers still want a profit. That's why I get it. They want a virtue signal, but ultimately most of them are business to profit. They could just probably switch over and all right. Walmart's using Dogecoin and Bitcoin and Solana, and just as an example, Ethereum right now. So get your phone and put it on one thing. I don't know about the CBDCs. I think that's going to fall on their face. But we can talk about that if you know what that is.
I don't. All right, off the top of my head.
Central
See you,
bank.
David.
See.
night,
Hi,
David.
Dave.
He's going to bed because of sleep. I like the way
He
you
needs to
phrased
go to
that.
bed. He needs to go to
Yeah.
sleep. He absolutely needs to go.
Shout out to all the people in chat. We got Magoo and Benzo Barbie and a bunch of return people. Love seeing people pop up in the chat who have been there in past streams. Like Benzo Barbie popped up like 3 or 4 episodes ago, and then she stayed with the episodes. It's been
Now, question, Leighton, you said it's going to the right. The hard part I don't actually like the left and the right because there's nuance and stuff like that.
Well, I in the article I break that down, and it's a couple minute thing I'm gonna record for the channel. I have a new thing coming out called Radner Rants.
Funny enough, when I was door knocking, I saw like you have a Gadsden flag behind you, and I saw one, and I'm like, I was there. A couple family members are helping me, and I knock on the door, and they're like, "Come on, it's been a minute, just go." And I'm like, "No, there's a Gadsden flag here. This dude's definitely a libertarian." So I'm knocking. I'm waiting, and he comes out, and he's like, "Hey, I really like the flag. You a Ron Paul guy or anything like that?" He's like, funny enough, he's like, "No, I'm not a libertarian." Like, oh, Republican? He's like, no. He's like, I'm a Democrat. And I'm like, okay, interesting. So we talk. He's an old school type Democrat, but here's the thing. Yeah, he said he was against Biden. He said he liked some of what, but he wasn't like super pro Trumpy either. He did like most of my libertarian stuff, but he's like an old school Democrat. And there's a lot of old school Democrats out there. If you'll go knock doors and talk to people that are there, I don't think they're going to shift to the right. I think what'll happen is maybe people adopt more decentralization methods to get
Okay.
But I don't think people will go 100% like I'm going ultra conservative because
no,
most
and
people,
I'm not saying that. What I'm specifically saying is this. What you see in France right now is that Macron's party is being led up in an opposition by right-wingers. In the UK, in the United Kingdom, you see the exact same thing happening. When you go to Germany, you see that the one way people are protesting against what the government's doing right now is to join more right-wing coalitions. You can see that same thing in the Middle East. You see the same thing with Iran, and what's going on there right now, to me, is the exact same. It's the CIA and the feds creating a revolt in Iran to oppose the fact that the right wing and the conservative era of the Middle East has kind of taken control of that area. And the Sharia law system, those things are what they push for. That's what they like. So I think all of that in total, in all these different areas of the world, means at the same time, it's doing exactly what a lot of political theorists have predicted already, which is that when you swing culturally, globally to the left, you're going to see a swing right back. And the swing that I think we'll see is we'll see a Republican winning in 2024 in the US. We'll see shortly thereafter France and different countries like that come under conservative leadership or more conservative leadership.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing or bad thing long term, because I do think it'll leave the economy just as fucked and certain things just as fucked. And
I
the
think,
global war policy will probably have more conflicts.
well,
But
you know what, I honestly, like, if I'm looking at just historical patterns, that's all I do. I don't have a thing. That's why I said, like, to me, the crash won't be the crash. It'll be like things just get so expensive you don't use the dollar.
so I'm getting weird fuzzy feedback from one of you guys, because unless it's my headphones, do any of you hear it?
Is it me? Hello?
No, I don't know. Maybe if
I'm
somebody
saying.
in the chat wants to tell me, I hear it in my headphones. It might just be my ear headphones.
I hear it too. I still hear it whenever I mute myself.
I hear it when I'm muted. Mute yourself for a second, Kareem. It's Kareem.
It just happened now?
Yeah, it just started. So something might
I'm
have
guessing
unplugged or
that's-
something.
Kareem, hold that thought. So, like, I think, or what? Where were we? I had a whole thought.
We were talking about how globally I think we're gonna swing back to the right.
Okay, yeah,
and
swing to the right. Yeah, so you're gonna see. Yeah, I think there's definitely a swing to the right. It's already happening, but then you're going to see a breakup of the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I fully believe that.
The factions. So it's not MAGA. Like, don't
No.
think like it's swinging to MAGA, and it's because the Republican Party has been for the last 10 years on the verge of a breakup. It's over, and so if everyone is going to the right, then you're just going to see a
right.
You know, and then that's whenever real change happens.
Right.
That's whenever the Southern Whigs became Democrat. I mean, this is whenever.
Fully agree there. I don't see it lasting, but I do think it's a position where libertarians and the people in the Republican Party who do value liberty to take advantage of it, but also be aware that because of the way that this shift can happen, when you have a situation like the US and you have things like feds and a lot of organizations that work behind closed doors involved, that's more of what I'm worried about, because I think people are very unprepared for that aspect of it. You know, how to not get wrapped up in being able to be entrapped in some shit like that. Which I think is an easy.
How widespread do you? I don't think that would be that.
Well, so I don't think it's widespread now. I think it's occasional now. But my point is, if the left of the country in America thinks they are under legitimate pressure to lose grip of any kind of holds they have, I suspect they'll use everything they have at their disposal. And right now, they're in charge of those organizations. So that worries me. And so I think people need to be prepared for that to become a reality. And there's easy things people can do to do that, which is what I'm writing about. It's like, just stop doing this online shit that puts you at fucking risk. Stop knowingly doing shit that you know could be used against you. Like, people need to learn how to stop doing that shit.
Yeah,
like,
but
that would be the angle I'm taking on it.
Here's what I do see. ANCAPs aside, classical liberals aside, minarchists aside, I think we're going to stick to that. Even disaffected liberals or liberals who want to exist in a decentralized thing, I don't think that'll change. But I do agree with you.
It has to change. Because if it doesn't change, it's going to fail. Because if the system around it has changed, it needs to change with it. Like, yes, I believe libertarians need to understand that the right becomes the people in charge briefly and then disintegrates in the way that I think it'll happen, and I think CD just mentioned. I think all those pro-liberty groups need to understand how to take advantage of that, i.e. gaining control locally and then furthermore in other areas. Whether that is through the political system or otherwise.
I was gonna say that I don't think this is necessarily an end just like for libertarians. Like it's liberty.
No, that's what the specific wording I use in what I'm writing is I say this will affect libertarians like myself, independents, and pro-liberty Republicans. Okay. Because I think at this point the left, like the Antifa left, which I would have normally included in that as well, because their normal position back in the day was that they were still for the government's destruction, but that's shifted. It's changed. That's no longer the case. So I don't include them on that list anymore because I think they have altered the way that they do things from an organizational level. And so I think they're outside of the purview of liberty-minded people now. I don't think they're included in the discussion. I guess that would be.
I think they are. But just to bring up a quote from Michael Malice, conservatives are progressives driving the speed limit. And what I have seen over a long time is, funny enough, like people like Trump's a conservative hero. I'm like, actually kind of looks like a 90s Democrat. So it seems like you're 10 years or 20 years behind actual progressives. The problem go here, then they're going here. And then they go here, and then the progressives go way here. Like, we want to identify as animals. I want to be a wolf now. That's crazy.
The problem is that I don't believe Michael Malice or anybody else can correctly predict what it is that conservatives will do in the United States when they have a full power block.
Right.
Because he's never fucking seen it. He has nothing to predict that off of. No. And I see people, that quote works if you are talking about something happening right now, or if you're talking about something that's happened in the past. It doesn't happen about something that could happen in the future that you have nothing to base that quote to. Like, it doesn't really work to me.
It does work to me because he's not, regardless what they take or don't take, I think it's coming down to like different trends that happen. Just like you can see an economic trend and say, okay, if we print a bunch of money regardless, it's going to, change. It's going to create inflation. I think conservatives, defend what liberals did 10 years ago.
Right.
Then
I think that may have been true if we were talking about Republicans from the 1990s or 2010, but we're not. We're talking about a Republican Party that will be full of younger people who are coming in who are more used to the old school Republican style of politics, who will be trying to do the opposite of that, which is actually being loud, being boisterous, getting in people's faces, organizing protests. We're starting to see the Republican base of younger people take over the rest of the party because eventually these people are going to be dead and gone anyway. So I think that quote is only in regards and only works if you're talking about the Republican Party that exists when that quote was made.
Right.
And right now, that isn't what exists. It's changed even since that quote was made. So I've argued with people on Twitter about the use of it now, and I don't think it works in the way that people think it does. Like, I just don't. I don't know.
I think it does, but I have to see. It's hard. I can't accurately predict it. What I can say is
right, but that's what the quote's doing, is trying to accurately predict it. It's making a statement about what conservatives are and will be. But I don't think it works to do that. I think it can explain what conservatives were. Like, obviously, I think if you apply that malice quote to any point in the history of the Republican Party, it's correct.
Well,
but
right.
The Republican Party has vastly changed in the last just 5 years.
Right. So
somewhat.
But just because Pelosi's replaced by somebody doesn't mean it's going to be any different.
No, I'm not necessarily saying that. What I am saying is if you have...
with you. That's what I'm getting at, is that, like, they're the same at this point. It doesn't matter.
Ooh.
A Republican, a young Republican in there is just as bad as an old Pelosi.
It's kind of what I said, though. You know.
I think you're misunderstood in the actions that those Republicans take, because you can see pretty clearly that the younger Republicans are not Democrats in sheep's clothing, in my opinion. A turning point is a different story, obviously, but that could be a different thing. But the whole point of groups like Turning Point USA, Daily Wire, PragerU, etc., is to funnel the younger right wing back into the neocon field away from the right. We agree with that. I think we would all agree on that. But regardless of what they are fueling into, even if they were all fueling into the neocon establishment, that is still vastly different than the Republican Party that we were talking about even just 5-10 years ago. And I think that some people are misunderstood in the way that young people think today. Because I am young, I'm 22, I know a lot of people in that age bracket, and a lot of them, because I'm in Alaska, are that kind of Trump conservative style young person. And I would argue those people are more principled on the constitutional basis than a great deal of the old school Republican Party.
I really disagree. I think they're just as susceptible, if not
constitutional basis.
They are.
Well, I think what I mean by that is I think they're well read in the ideas of liberty versus, because I think young people today, and say the like, I'm 22, so I'll use a 20-year-old as example, somebody who's like just getting out of high school. I find that if they are on the red pill trajectory, if they're on the right wing trajectory, right, they tend to just naturally pick up books that aren't necessarily libertarian, but are in our wheel space enough that when they actually get pressed on the ideas of, say, the Constitution, which they all claim to be into, it makes it very difficult for them to fall on any other argument than the one that the person who's pro-Constitution is making. And I've seen that happen in person, where leftists have argued for the legalization of certain drugs, and younger pro-Trump conservatives who were arguing with them were turned to a degree on the idea because of the way it was described in confines of the Constitution. And I think we're going to find that moving forward, like, take the America First thing, right? Like the not the Trump version of it, but the like Fuentes America First, like those guys.
Yeah, I do like that.
There's a good deal of those guys who are well read on the ideas of liberty. That's just a fact. I might not like them. I don't like
on it doesn't mean they'll execute that. Trust
Yeah.
them.
Hey,
I'm not saying that either, but I would certainly agree. I think it's obvious to me that if I have the option between a bunch of 65 and 70-year-olds in control of the Republican Party who also don't respect any of the ideas of freedom, of liberty, or know any of the literature or anything behind it, versus a bunch of 25 and 30-year-olds who maybe have at least at some point read some of the shit, I would rather have those guys. Like, that's my position on that. And I think it would accelerate us. It would accelerate the Republican Party faster towards destruction, as we talked about before.
If it propels them into obliteration faster, sure. But I think it would just. I mean, are you talking about just like a complete?
Well, like
party breaking up, like is that what you mean?
So, for instance, I think the Republican Party is almost definitely going to be in power moving forward for a short amount of time, whether that's a presidential election cycle, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4 is a different story. But regardless of that situation, I believe that the party cannot have full control and actually stay together, because the Republicans on the, we'll say, Massey side of things, right? The guys who are like a little more pro-liberty than the rest of the Republican base are not going to be able to remain in a Republican Party the way that it will be formed then. I think you'll see people from the Republican base dipping out and going into independent parties, going to libertarian parties, going back to Democrat parties, and all over the place for a short while. But I think it'll make it so the Republicans will be almost useless. They won't be able to win elections going forward because they don't have a big enough base.
Well, I mean, okay, so they don't have a big enough base, so they think they're going to get a bigger base by coming over to these factions that have a minority base. Like I don't think that is. I don't think that's going to be their solution. In fact, dropping the Republican tag would not be in their interest. So it's going to be a competition over who remains.
Okay, well, right. So JC's chat here kind of talks about this perfectly. So I don't trust the average conservative voter as much as I can throw them. They're better than Democrats, but they still have the sheep mentality, and when opportunities play up the tough, they're tough on up the tough on crime.
Okay,
right. If you have Trump, for instance, win in 2024, right? The Republican base is going to have to sort of pick sides in a sense. And the Democrats are going to be working nonstop to separate the Democrat establishments so that they can influence the way that they're talking to Trump, influence the amount of votes he has in the Senate, the House, and all these other things, right? But I think ultimately those actions will lead to the Republicans losing enough members of the actual party itself and enough global support through that presidency that when it rolls around to the next presidency, they're not going to have the base to get enough votes to win, and it won't matter who their candidate is. I think that's more the position that I'm holding. I don't think they come back from winning after they win and have that political swing, because there's nothing for them to do. Like, we know what happens when conservatives are in power because we've seen it. It doesn't go anywhere. Like, they just kind of sit there and do nothing, like everyone in the chat has been saying the whole time. And even if they are younger pro-liberty, right, and have some ideas of liberty or whatever we want to word it as, I think that outcome would be better than what we would get out of a older 65, 70-year-old who has the kind of ideas of the generic establishment we've seen. But I don't think it would result in anything different. Like, it's still going to collapse. I don't see that changing.
I'll just make the Lord of the Ring scream thinking about this. I'll just give you the Lord of the Rings analogy that you'll never be. I don't care who they are. If you gave me a monopoly on force, and I'm looking at ANCAP, syndicalist philosophy and primitivist philosophy and mutualist philosophy all day, I guarantee if you give me a monopoly over something, I would be a dick because I know who I am. And it's not a unique human phenomenon. I think we're too focused on the bad people, not the system that created these bad people. You can generally put good principled people into a bad system, and Dr. Naomi Wolf said the next group will come along with different ideas and they'll get bought off too. And I trust her judgment. She seems pretty insightful. It seems to me they're going to be corrupted over time, and they will be these decrepit 65-year-olds as well. The only chance you have, regardless, is to decentralize, in my opinion, to a local level or at least a state level. Get more free state projects, get more local awareness.
I think the part that we're really missing here is the part where it gets so bad that but the only place people know to turn to is government.
Yeah. That's exactly
government created all these problems.
Where they go to Republicans, whoever, and say, what can you do for me? And there's got to be a solid 2 terms of promises that, I'm going to make it better and this is how I'm going to do it.
I've heard this before.
And then they say, okay, I know we have, but they've never had to go to you're talking about middle class people that have never had to go to government for help. The most they've ever had to do is ask for a new trash can or get a pothole fixed. But they actually have to go to their they have to start asking for help. And it's going to take a few terms to understand that they can't help.
Yes,
that everything's promising. So then it's going
it.
And then that's when the local stuff starts to become
a problem.
Real. And that's when people say,
well,
what if
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with any of that.
That's the part that's in our control in our lifetime. It's that window. And what do liberty-minded people do with it? A good example, I think, is what's that orange girl's name?
The one that's on that was on Isabella Riley.
Yeah, okay, her. Okay. So she is from Connecticut, and she literally publicly has stated that she moved to New York to get involved in New York Republican politics because of the money. So I just want to make it real clear that, like, if that girl didn't see a way to make money in that, she would not have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but...
And she represents a bunch of them. A bunch of them.
Right. I get what you're saying. I think I would say, like, if Orange Girl is working towards some form of, like, because I would argue she understands, like, some form of liberty better than most.
But that doesn't mean, just because she understands it doesn't mean that's her shill.
Yeah.
Like, her shill, if she was voted into New York politics as a Republican, she's
right. I understand what you're saying. Right.
Like,
yeah.
So
it's a difference. It's a difference of what they're espousing versus what they're doing, and what she's doing. The problem with her is I don't think she's been able to do anything.
Look, they're all gonna get corrupted over time.
She's the Tho Bishop of the Republican Party.
You know what the difference is?
Good for her, you know what I mean? Like, it's working for whatever. Like, good for her.
The only difference, you know what, Leighton? The only difference between the MAGA Republicans and the old guard we have now is Smeagol before he put on the ring and Smeagol after he wore it for a while. So unless you do decentralization and throw it in Mount Doom, nothing's going to change.
Nobody here disagrees about decentralization.
Right.
I think my point is,
right.
I think we all agree on that. We're all libertarians.
But to get there,
right?
Like,
I
there's
think
a whole
that's
lot going to happen, and
yeah,
that's the part that liberty wins or it doesn't.
Like, I think it is going to have to win, unless people want to live in a totalitarian hellhole. I do see a bright light.
It has to get to a totalitarian
thought, Bishop.
I don't think it has to get that bad.
It has to get to the Hunger Games.
I don't think it does. Well, it didn't get to the Hunger Games in New Hampshire, and they got a free state project. So,
okay, are we really
Yeah, you don't want to do this.
Oh, we really.
Don't go
Karina,
down
don't.
that road.
The time is it is late. It's
Turn
way too-
back.
What?
Turn back.
Yeah, we
No.
don't want to do this, especially over them. No way.
I'm gonna have some Free State guys
They're
on.
I think the Free State
Eventually.
Project is a
That's
beacon.
not a good example. That's not a good example at all.
It's not
We
a good
got
example
another-
for what you're trying to show. I
They got
will
number
say it
one
that
on
way.
the Freedom Index. Number one on the Freedom Index from different things. And granted, I'm not a huge fan of the Cato Institute. I'm not a fan of it's very Koch brothers run, and there's a lot of things I don't like. But on the liberty indexes that I've looked at, New Hampshire's ranking 1 in liberty in America. I think there's something to be said for that. Granted, I don't think everything in the Free State Project perfect.
I don't
I
give
don't think-
a fuck about a liberty fucking rank. Who decided that? New Hampshire.
That means nothing.
New Hampshire decide they're number one and everything. That's
Somebody
what-
donated money to Cato, so they gave him an award, and we're supposed to think that's cool. I don't know.
Okay.
But is it true?
I
Okay.
mean, how?
Please.
No, actually, here I'll make an argument right now. No, I'll make the argument that you can live in perpetuity with a large population much freer in the state that I'm currently sitting in. The
Heard.
Freedom Index will hold this state lower than them, probably because of the type of taxes that exist here.
Right.
So that makes no sense to me. The cops can come arrest you in New Hampshire. I can go 200 miles and live in a cabin up the mountains. Cops aren't getting me. So there's a difference between what you and me consider a freedom. And there's a big difference between what me and Cato consider a fucking freedom.
I would agree with
So,
you.
like, that is a measurement of what somebody's freedom is, means about as much as the toilet paper I wipe my ass with.
Right.
It's Cato can just give that to whoever they look at who donates the money. Like, they could give that to anybody for
wasn't
any
the
reason.
only source. That wasn't. There were multiple sources I looked at.
But-
I don't
Okay, but
remember the others.
That's just media. It's just media. That's all that is.
And
That's
so-
just like CNN giving an award to some writer because they talked about climate change in Africa. It's
And
the
they're
same
also
same
still-
equivalent.
They're also an affiliate of CNN.
Yeah, I know. Like
That was-
Cato, all Cato is a think tank of rich people who have gotten a bunch of money from other rich people. So if you think their opinion on what is a free and state that has liberty is important, then that's fine. But I don't think I value those people's opinion.
Okay,
No.
fine. Yeah, I mean that's one source. I'm not.
I just
Like I said,
don't
I'm
like
not
for
a
me.
huge.
Yeah, Magoo here pointing out the real truth. Anyone on 20 plus acres is likely more free than most New Hampshire residents. And I think that's 100% true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on what you care about. Listen, if your idea of freedom is the government isn't charging you a ton in taxes and you don't have to have insurance on your car, great,
Yeah.
go to fucking New Hampshire. But if your idea of freedom is being able to live on land that you can own away from fucking state and away from people who are going to take it from you by force, somewhere where you can own whatever guns you want and train with those guns and have friends that train with those guns and all those different things that you talk about, you want to be someplace like here. You want to be in rural fucking southern states. You want to be somewhere that is insulated around people that are like you. And no, the Free State Project isn't big enough to give that right now. That's the truth.
It's a start, is what I'm saying.
No, I just, they can tout whatever they want. That's all fine and dandy, and I appreciate their effort. But they don't dictate.
Yeah, go be Putin's neighbor.
Yeah, go
I will actually no. I'll go to Chiran. How about that? If you know what that is.
There's a lot of like Middle Eastern countries I'd go to for sure. If shit was really popping off, because I could just go to Israel. Like y'all are fucked. I'll just go.
You know I have dual citizenship, right?
No,
I'll
but
be right next to you.
I think I'm Jewish enough that I could just wait there long enough. They'd let me in. I think that's how it works.
I'm Arab enough.
They'd have some Palestinian's house waiting for me, I'm sure.
Yeah, what the heck, man?
Uh,
You're violating the NAP.
Appalachia for the win, rural Florida. Yeah, but that's my point. Like, if you are in a rural area, you are going to be freer than anyone in New Hampshire pretty
We're
much
gonna do the
already.
free Gaza
That's the
project.
truth. Like, you're just already there. Free Gaza project. Dude, that would be real based. I would actually, if there was enough people right now who were down to do that, I'd do it. I'd do that. That'd be an experience for about 6 months before I got shot. It'd be worth it.
No,
Fucking deal.
Freedom to me is drive through daiquiri shops. As long as I have a drive-through.
We don't have that in Alaska, but we don't have like
Get one.
what is the deal? So Florida has that, right? They have drive-through alcohol, and Texas has it because I remember getting it in Texas. We got a Pizza Hut. We went to a Pizza Hut in Texas at 2 a.m, bought a pizza and a margarita for my mother, who was in the passenger seat of the car, at 2 a.m. in Texas. It was pretty fucking amazing. Like, I don't think you're doing that in New Hampshire. I'm just saying.
I mean, like,
it was Tuesday.
Yeah, but it depends. Like it said, it depends what you care about. You care about less centralization, less taxes. What do you care? What are your fun? Even among libertarians, it'd be interesting to see. Also, I'll bring up from like the economist that has influenced me the most. It's not clear, and I know this is going to sound weird. It's not clear where private ordering begins and where public ordering begins. I can break that down if you want. But
drive-through craft beer. Oh god,
that sounds awesome.
Dude, drive-through whiskey. Like, if I could either drive-through, get a Manhattan, or get an old-fashioned and just keep driving, like, fuck yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We don't.
Yeah, well, so this is my point, right? Whereas you have a state like New Hampshire, which is chock full of politicians and feds and ex-military, which is what's all over New Hampshire. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you're going to be well protected, surrounded by all those federal agents, ex-cops, ex-military, and fucking, yeah, politicians. I'm sure you'll be real well protected in that state when shit goes down.
All right, fine. You know what? I'm going to Chiran. Are we going to Chiran?
Wherever that is, I'm fine. It sounds Middle Eastern or Russian.
It's Mexico, actually.
Mexico.
It's a nice town. I'll play the video for you.
Okay, you want to share it? We could.
Yeah.
Has it got like copyrighted music in it?
I do not know. I don't think so. I do not believe it does. But as far as I'm concerned, I got in a big fight with one of my friends yesterday. We were going back on Keybase. I'm like, Somalia's and anarchy is pretty good because there's warlords and stuff. He's like, but Chiran's better. I'm like, yeah, I think so. Don't be hating on it. I'll go to Mogadishu if it don't.
We have generators in these parts, Magoo. And we know how to start them and fix them. It's like, I don't. These motherfuckers are like, power's out, we're fucked. Like, yeah, if that's your reaction to the power being out, you are fucked.
Your only survival tool.
The South is full of Florida men.
I do some redneck stuff. So.
Hey man, nothing wrong with that. I'd rather that than some, foot shuffling, cocksucker for sure.
I feel like Floridians and Alaskans ought to get together because we both have peninsulas.
That would be all right. I think I'll get along.
I think we're the only states that have peninsulas.
Let's go to Africa and call it Botswana.
South Carolina's about to have peninsulas. I'm pretty sure Delaware has peninsula.
Does it really? Okay, I must be off then.
Hey, Leighton, since you like the MAGA.
Maybe a big one. Maybe y'all have
You can't make electricity from scrap. You ain't gonna make it. I can get a generator.
Michigan.
But
let's go to Africa and call it Botswana. I think going to Africa and calling everyone Thotswana and doing what you do with thoughts might kill you faster than if you stayed in America and dealt with the apocalypse.
Well, hey, Leighton, what do Republicans always tell you when you really get them mad? Or at least they told me this back in the day. They definitely did it more under Bush, but I'm like, hey, the Iraq War BS. They're like, if you don't like it, law and order, you could go to Somalia. I'm like, hey, maybe I should have done that.
Guys want to go to Somalia. We might be heading to Somalia.
No, I'm not.
I'm going to Mogadishu.
I won't eat the bugs, and I'm not moving.
How about the poo-poo? Because I think that's what they're eating over there. I don't even think they have bugs anymore. They're out of bugs. You're going to end up in a country where they don't even have the bugs anymore. They're like, we've eaten all the bugs. We've eaten the worms. We're down to... We're
I think all right, I'm gonna cue this bad boy up because this is Mexico. I'm fighting for
Georgia
my right.
has a micro land peninsula that we dangle on Florida's forehead.
You guys are crazy. All right, let's do this.
All right, I'm sharing your screen. Oh, I've seen this. I know this place.
Yeah, they say heaven on earth doesn't exist.
The armed men and women who guard every entrance to Chidan.
This is like a long video, though.
Almost 5 minutes.
At the height of election season, that means mostly political campaign ads. Ads like these, and the political parties that produce them, are completely banned in this town of 20,000. It's been that way since 2011, when the population kicked out an organized crime syndicate, along with every competent politician in town.
Se expulsó a los policías de ese momento porque nos dimos cuenta que estaban confundidos con el crimen.
Kareem?
Yeah, we can.
Kareem, pause it. This is not good podcasting, and I'm killing this. No one wants to listen to subtitles. This is not a thing. I know the town. There's a town in Mexico that booted out all their politicians, and now they forcefully hold a vote every year to put somebody else in the town into power. Is that about right?
Well, they have an autonomous militia, and yeah, they do have a council, and the people line up, and they have they do have those people take positions in the town. The important thing I think about Chiron is that it shows that you can get rid of all of this stuff and still not only run an effective community, but society is better off without all these different elements.
Well, we have to get people excited about the idea of not having government.
Hector, is that you?
What we can do, if we get the state or local, you can start banning political ads and start banning parties.
They don't want to. Why would they do that? You need to make the over. Yeah. We have to come
all right.
to the actual case.
So let's cover this Elon Musk stuff.
Let's go.
Right,
so Bundy, the Bundys did it first. Yes. So we'll do this story here.
Alex Jones is back on Twitter.
No, he's not.
But he will be.
Twitter released a statement following news that Elon Musk wants to proceed with purchase. Twitter indicated Tuesday afternoon that they are moving forward with letting Elon Musk acquire the company after the billionaire entrepreneur informed the company in a letter that he wanted to proceed with the purchase for the original offer of $54.20 per share. Musk made the proposal in a letter to Twitter executives, which sent share prices surging by as much as 22%. Twitter issued the statement about today's news. We received a letter from the Musk parties. God, I can't see on this fucking screen. It's all zoomed down on my end. This is stupid. which they have filed with the SEC. So the basic gist here is Elon Musk, who originally said he wanted to buy Twitter, then tried to pull out of buying Twitter, Twitter then entered into a lawsuit with Musk, and we are about 3 or 4 days away from discovery. And so people are saying he doesn't want to have to go through the process of, going through, what do they call it? It's escaping me now. Deposition. He doesn't want to do a deposition. And some of his text messages already were put out publicly because of this, including messages between him and Jack Dorsey and Rogan and people like this, in which he's
Fuck those people, dude.
Actually, no.
I have a question though about this before we get into it. Is the precursor to this? I get it. Correlation doesn't involve causation. So if you think I'm wrong or completely off, I'm off. But there was a tweet where he was saying, I can't remember the exact contents of how to promote peace between Russia and Ukraine. He said they should do this, this, and this. I think it's allow them to have a vote, a referendum and stuff. And people kept attacking him for it. And then he said, no, I guess he got into a spat with Zelensky. And then all of a sudden he wants to buy Twitter. I have a feeling that that influenced some of what was going on. I can't prove it.
I will say this. I think what's going on here personally is that Elon attempted to pull out of the deal as a bargaining tactic to try to get a lower price per share.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter called his bluff with the lawsuit situation, but then with discovery on its way, Elon decided he's just willing to pay the full price because he doesn't want to have to go through the discovery process on top of doing depositions and all that, which would involve him having to sit down and talk and give answers to questions he probably doesn't want to answer. The same's true for Twitter, but I see this almost as Elon Musk hitting the reset button and just saying, I'm buying it and we're done with the whole court situation entirely. I don't think it has much to do with the Ukraine thing, although I think that happened conveniently because here's the thing, like, he was already playing up that there were all these bots on the platform. So I think his cheeky comments with the Zelensky stuff was because he saw a lot of bots in Zelensky's Twitter replies and interacting with the tweets. But I think that's just what he's been doing for the last month. I mean, he's been calling out multiple different bot things that have been happening on Twitter. I saw right after this happened, a bunch of people have been posting that they've been dropping followers. And I've been reading all about that. And I dropped like 20, which is a little more than I would normally lose in a single day. I will say that's a little weird. I don't know whether that necessarily means. I've heard a couple people online saying that it might be not because people are like Twitter's removing bots, but rather companies that people have operating bots are pulling out because they know that the ownership's about to transfer. This sale's probably going to take place within the next couple days, and will be in his ownership within a couple weeks. This is going to happen very fast. Because the idea is that what he just gave them, this letter of intent to purchase, will end the court case.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
His first mistake was pulling out. Yeah, and especially from Elon, someone who's so used to just, charging head first inside and thinking about his repercussions later.
That's how you gotta roll.
What is he up to, like 8 kids now with like 4 different chicks? He's just like, I am seeding the planet.
I have a question then.
Autistic dude coming in bitches, and we're all like, this guy's a god. That's basically what's happening in the world right now.
Hey, I'm gonna go see a little bit after this podcast. Then it's like every man goes wild. But here's my question: who do you think will be back now? I think hopefully. I don't actually care if Trump is back because Trump said he wasn't going to come back, and he has this truth thingy, which I do have an account on just to look at stuff. But you think Alex Jones will be back?
Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck if Alex Jones comes back to Twitter or not? Fuck Alex Jones.
Here's the thing. I'll say this. I would love if it Alex Jones was brought back. I'd love if Reed Coverdale. I'd love if Reed Coverdale got his account back. I'd love if all these different people that I know got their accounts back. I don't necessarily know how much of that's going to happen. It's possible what will happen is the people who were banned will just be allowed to come back and make new accounts.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's getting their old accounts back. We'll put that forward. I just don't see that happen.
What's the My Pillow guy, Michael Lindell, the guy who got screwed over by the FBI? I think he was allowed back. Said he was back, but he had to rebuild his followers. So yeah, I don't think. I'm interested to see who will come back because it is a pain to just say, okay, you can come back now. It's like, but you have to rebuild everything. It's like that. You want to go through another person, and I don't agree with everything he says. Sometimes he gets too career academic.
Adolf Hitler.
No. And that's not a very Jewy thing to say. But Jordan Peterson.
I didn't say it. You did. Wait a minute. Don't turn this around on me now.
Hey, man.
You said the majority of that sentence.
Hey, man. Don't be Hey.
And I feel like most people would expect it to come from you.
Okay. You know what? Hey, you know what? Old Adolf was a better speaker than the fucking corpse we have now. But that being said, you think I would like to see Jordan Peterson come back because I think Jordan Peterson got banned for making fun of that one chick because she, little beefy.
Jordan Peterson isn't probably going to come back to Twitter even if they let him back. I don't think. And personally, I'm a little bit over the Jordan Peterson thing.
Aren't we all? Are we still
I don't know. I think there's a degree of man. Am I not correct in that this guy was like a rampant drug addict who had such a bad problem that he went to the hospital, almost killed himself?
I don't know.
I consider myself to be a bit of an incel. I'm a touch on that scale of things. But the idea that I would take brutal life advice from somebody who made that big of a mistake, I don't know.
I think it was cool whenever he was going.
Let's be honest. No one cleaned their room.
It was one thing when he was going on.
Yeah, he was taking too many benzo Barbies and he ended up flatlining.
And here's the thing.
I've had lots of friends who've OD'd and I feel,
Jordan Peterson,
okay. But regardless,
college campuses and doing this thing, and now, that doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, fine. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm not saying all of these people, I agree with them. Even if it's someone I didn't like, even if it's someone that I think is annoying or bad or saying stupid stuff, I still think they should be able to get their old account back, provided they.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think Jones.
About.
Yeah, I think Jones and all those people should be on Twitter.
He's gotten the info war.
But I also think the reality of it is that's probably not how it's going to work out. They might be able to come back on and rebuild. I don't think Elon's going to give them accounts back because that would bring in some public publicity that I don't think he'd want. Whereas he could say, hey, we're not going to ban anybody who comes back on the platform who used to have an account. Right? That can be done with one change of the algorithm on Twitter, and that can be instituted for all the accounts that were banned versus them having to individually go through and choose people, which makes it so every person they choose is a media story that negatively impacts the company that he's trying to now build into profitability. So I think it makes more sense for him to just blanket be like, if you had an account, you can come back. Unless it's specifically Babylon B, where he's you shouldn't have been banned in the first place, clearly, or something real obvious.
Yeah. Well, and there's also one thing I have a little bit of concern with is that I'm not necessarily comparing.
I think there's plenty of social media platforms that do that. I just don't think Twitter's going to because it doesn't make sense for profit.
Yeah.
Like
'Cause
there's tons of private social media groups that are like literally have a shrinking base because they purposely weed people out. Mastodon, something that's like the whole like the node platform social media stuff does that really easy because you can decide who has access to what when, you know. But yeah, that's basically the gist of the Elon stuff. It looks like he's going to go through with buying Twitter. That's really what matters. My guess is within the next few weeks, it's going to be kind of finalized and done. We'll see what happens. It's interesting. I just got above 1,000 followers. I know something he fucking does is going to ruin that. So we are waiting. People thought Peterson was just depressed or something. Those meds he was prescribed had some brutal side effects. Doctors were irresponsible, recommending to lots of
Yeah, I don't know about that.
So
but here's what I will say though. In one kind of thing is,
I don't think it makes him a hypocrite. Like I want to be clear there with JC's chat. I don't think it makes him a hypocrite at all. I don't think it makes him any worse of a human, really. I just think it means he made a really bad prolonged decision. And is somebody who makes a really bad prolonged decision somebody that you want to take ultimate life advice from rather than just looking at him as another content creator, which is really what he is. He's another YouTuber, another writer making content. You can take from his stuff what you want. Do not look at Jordan Peterson as a religion. There's a lot of people who do that, and their lives aren't any better than any of us.
Yeah.
I think that is, and I will say this. I like some of what Jordan Peterson said. Some of what he said, I think, but yeah, there are some people just following. Like Jordan Peterson said this today. I'm like, okay, chill out. Like, is he a good intellectual? I think he's okay. He's not Manly P. Hall to me or like Neville Goddard or anything. He's okay, but I don't think he's like the greatest thinker of the Western Hemisphere.
No. He just ended up having this big cult following, and you've got people who, it's not neither of us, but
no. There are people who follow Peterson's work to a degree that is not healthy.
And I would say,
there's a lot of them. They're like
to Trump or Dave Smith or.
Anybody can have that happen, but I think Peterson in particular, with a lot of this, the way he markets himself, especially now, is specifically to get those people.
Oh yeah, I think it's like Jordan Peterson has a real God complex, personally.
Yeah, I think he likes to be in the media's light, and he likes to be, people act like he was mainlining heroin. He was just dropping lots of Xans. Yeah, so I agree with that absolutely. I don't think he's some kind of brutal drug addict either. I do, however, think that anybody who's talking about the things he is while doing that should probably alter the way that he speaks to people if it's, or at least take some form of further responsibility other than, the doctors did this and my wife had died and so I didn't have a choice. It's like, well, no, you made a choice to take those drugs, and then you made a choice the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day, and to the point where it affected your health so bad that you were basically running around to different countries to get medical help. So I think you fucked your life up, you fucked your body up, like regardless, like. A small drug can become a big problem. I guess that's my point. Like, we all know that.
I'm not here to defend Jordan BP or say anything, but I do want to say one thing about Elon, though. Not that that's bad. I actually agree with some, ideas he had, but like with the whole Dogecoin thing, another project, he's like, yeah, we're going to do first, actually with Tesla. I'll even backtrack there. Tesla, he's like, we'll accept Bitcoin. Then he doesn't. Then he said, no, we won't accept Bitcoin. Bitcoin's hurting the environment. And I'm like, whatever. Then he's like, we'll accept Dogecoin, but we need to make Dogecoin not have an infinite supply and put it on the Ethereum blockchain, which I'm like, that's a good idea. Work with the developers to do that. He still didn't do that. So it's like he has a lot of companies, and it is cool that he's doing a lot of stuff. but then he's kind of like, woo-hoo, woo-hoo-hoo. And now he has Twitter, which, more power to him. But here's the interesting thing. He is sometimes just, with what he's doing, just here. And I do the same thing on a very micro level. And that could be an issue. I don't know how that manifests, but like a lot of the cool things that he sometimes says he's going to do or projects, he is on to the next thing. Like, oh, okay, Dogecoin, then this, then Bitcoin's cool, then this, then Shiba Inu, then Twitter. I don't know.
Yep, sounds autistic.
To be honest, it would be nice to see, because Jack Dorsey does not seem to me like an SJW or a crazy person. Maybe
I don't know about the second one.
Okay.
He might not be an SJW. He might be fucking wackadoo. I think a lot.
Look, the one thing I like is that out of all the big tech CEOs, I'm not saying this is the greatest thing ever, but he tweeted out Anatomy of the State, which means he has some idea. Maybe he listened to the boring Murray Rothbard thing with Leighton while you guys are smoking up, and I don't know. But yeah, he tweeted out Anatomy.
I will smoke Jack Dorsey under the fucking table.
I'm starting to think that tweet was just a troll. I think he was just trolling. I don't even think it was real. I think he was like, "That's a cool idea," and then was like, "Oh wait, no, I don't think that's a good idea at all."
Even you know what's funny? Even if it was even if a Hollywood celebrity picking like Keanu Reeves stands up and is like, "Man, I think Hans Hermann Hoppe has some cool points. I think Milton Friedman and David Friedman were on to something." Just kidding. There are people who look at that just like, or Lizzo says like, "Hey, check it out. I'm reading this book and it's a libertarian book."
Vamp, I gotta take a call.
It's hitting cultural norms. So I don't know. Maybe he is bad. He could also be evil too. But if we don't trust any billionaire or tech bro, Elon Musk falls under that umbrella too. So.
Yeah. That he's the closest thing to trustworthy that Lizzo to Rothbard Papa. Stop. Stop.
Hey, might as well try. Look, here's the thing.
Put it on speakerphone.
Honestly, to me, part of winning this thing, and part of getting people to accept decentralization beyond the political sphere, is to do the cultural thing, which is making anarchy trendy and doing goofy things that, I'm not saying necessarily I got to make an ANCAP TikTok, although that wouldn't be bad, but I don't like TikTok. But, getting T-shirts out there, getting ideas out there, getting different things out there, this podcast. But if you have a celebrity, as much as I don't like them, and they just even joke about something related to anarcho-capitalism, I do think it helps. Because someone
joking about it makes us a joke. Like, I don't think it's funny when we are the butt of a joke. I don't think that's good. No, at this point in our evolution, we can't afford to be joked about. It's one thing when we make jokes, Kareem. It's one thing when we are the ones making the jokes. But when we are the butt of the joke, it's not good. And it doesn't look good for our cause. And especially whenever anarchy is tied to Antifa. Right now, people
That's bad. That's bad. That's not a joke, though. Those people are insane.
Okay, but they call themselves anarchists. And so whenever I tell people I'm an anarchist, they think, I have to tell them I'm not like Antifa. I'm the just leave me alone anarchist. Precious, blatantly precious. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
The big girl wouldn't get in the frame. She's too heavy.
Yeah.
There's another one, but She's the one that I post on Twitter all the time.
This one-
Xena.
But yeah, I used to completely hate Jack Dorsey. I'm like, he's just one of them. He's a scumbag. He's this. And I wake up one morning and Dave Smith's like, well, I'm like, what's the big deal? Like, oh, what did he tweet out? He tweeted out a book. What's the book? I'm like, okay.
It's cool. It's cool. It's just like, we should all retweet it. We should all, but I mean, it doesn't, at the end of the day, until he says or practices anarcho-capitalism in his business, it just means he thought it has a good idea. So, it doesn't do anything for us for him to just put out a title of a book if they're not going to read it.
Yeah,
they're not going to read it.
Doesn't really do all that much.
No.
All right.
Okay.
I don't. Are we?
We're
is
done.
there any other stories? I think we're
No,
good.
that was-
All right. Oh wait, let me read. I don't even tell people a label when they ask me. I just keep it vague and try.
But
Yeah, I
here's the
mostly say that I'm pro-liberty. I mean,
Yeah,
that's kind of the framework that I use most of the time.
Right.
Gotta get people to
Right.
value liberty
Right,
and general force.
right.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
relying on-
And that's why I use that word a lot. Like just that word itself. Like a lot of people don't like it, and I feel the opposite about it. All right. I will see everybody next week. Everybody follow Twitters. We'll probably have a show before then, somewhere in between now and then. I've got some interviews lined up that I'm supposed to do and stuff. For anybody going to be at Florida Freedom Fest, I know I'm going to see CD there and stuff. I will be there in Florida for that.